It is the 4th of October. Happy new month to you. Since last time we saw each other was last month. Indeed, a new month, a new opportunity, of course, indicates hope. A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for tuning in to Kirk Mid-Morning this day. My name is Faith Kaula. I hope you're staying safe wherever you are, keeping warm if it is warm. Let's hope that the sun will come out today in all its splendor and beauty. But till then, do keep yourself warm. We have a very good program lined up for you today as we want to talk about teachers' welfare ahead of Teachers' Day tomorrow, the 5th of October. Yes, the 5th of October, ahead of Teachers' Day, which is going to be marked and celebrated tomorrow. So today in studio, we'll have teachers from Teach for Kenya organization who will be able to highlight some of the challenges experienced going through, as well as share their experience with us. But before we do that, let's have a look at the latest in the news area. And we start with the National Assembly, which is expected to resume today. Now, the National Assembly resumes its first session today. Top on the speakers of the houses, this is Moses Wetangula, priority list is resolving the leadership stalemate that has rocked the National Assembly, where both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza claim to have numerical strength and that they deserve to serve on the majority side. Now, this comes as both sides have taken hardline positions, as Kenya Kwanza Alliance has capitalized on defections by a section of Azimio allied political parties to their side. Today as well, Parliament will commence regular sitting at 2:30 p.m. Top of the business is to debate President William Ruto's address to both houses last week.
What the President could be making his remarks on the floor of the National Assembly today in this particular joint sitting. And you understand that the Kenya Kwanza wing is the wing that formed government, and from the expectations from members of the public and Kenyans is that the president...
In silence, in your places, until the procession...
Now, the government has lifted its ban on genetically modified crops, this is GMO, after 10 years suspension. Farmers will therefore be allowed to cultivate and import food crops and animal feeds produced through biotechnology. The decision was arrived at after a cabinet meeting chaired by President William Ruto yesterday. Now, Kenya has been reluctant to approve the import or planting of genetically modified food crops since November 2012, amid an ongoing debate about the safety of GMO crops, which are touted to have several advantages, such as resistance to drought, pests, and higher yields. The decision, according to dispatch from the cabinet, was reached in accordance with the recommendations of the task force to review matters relating to genetically modified foods and food safety, and in fidelity with the guidelines of the National Biosafety Authority on all applicable international treaties, including the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety, formerly known as CPB. Elsewhere, residents of Bisil coming to terms with the fire breakout that burned down businesses. This is yesterday. El Bisil Girls Secondary School reduced to ashes by the Rising Night fire that brought dormitories down. While speaking after visiting the school, Kajiado Deputy Governor Martin Mushisho said that the county government will aid in repairing back the destroyed properties.
Apart from there, the far end.
Apart from the far end.
Where the burning...
imefika na tumefika na maofisa wa county kwa niaba ya gavana wetu kuambia watu wetu pole na kuweza kuwapa mkono wa msaada kwa wale ambao wameathiriwa. Leo nimekuja na shilingi 1,200,000 kwa familia ambazo zimeathirika. Swala la kunyosheana vidole haisaidii. Linalosaidia ni msaada kwa walioathiriwa. Yes. Jameni, tusicheze shere na maisha ya watu wetu. Tusifanye maisha ya watu wetu kama mchezo wa lele.
All right, thank you so much for tuning in to Kirk Mid-Morning. That's all we had for you on the news segment. That is news at this hour. We're taking a very short break, but do not go too far. I'd like you to interact with us on our social media pages. That is Facebook and YouTube is Kirk TV Kenya. Do tell us where you are watching us from. And what do you have in mind ahead of Teachers' Day? This is International or World Teachers' Day tomorrow. Today on our program, we'll talk about the state of teachers as well. Have a look at our education system in the country. Now, remember, the theme of this year's World Teachers' Day is the transformation of education begins with teachers, or rather, the leadership of teachers in transforming education. And indeed, we can agree that the transformation of education begins with teachers. So if you'd like to celebrate your teacher, remember them. If you have to, do leave them on the comment section down below, as well as questions to do with the CBC system, which of course I'm looking forward to address with my guest this day in studio. Do leave them at our comment section on YouTube and Facebook is Kirk TV Kenya. And since you're social, we are still as well on Twitter at KirkTV_Kenya, at Faith Kaulo. Do interact with us. Hashtag is Kirk Mid-Morning. We're taking a very short break, but do keep it right here. See you in a few.
Are you looking to grow your business? Kirk TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@kirktv.org or call 011 00 90647.
Wakenya ni wapenda kazi na kila siku wako mbioni kuchapa kazi. Kipindi cha Kazi na Mali ni rafiki, swahiba na kipenzi cha wachapakazi wote. Si jua kali tu. Kilimo shambani.
Kusema kweli, nguruwe ni wazuri.
Madini ya protein kwa huyu snail iko juu sana.
Biashara sokoni. Wajasiriamali wa aina zote, sanaa, wasanii. Guess what? It is business. Tunatembea nawe kila hatua ya uvumbuzi na ubunifu wako ili kujikimu na kukimu uchumi wa taifa. Kazi na Mali, sisi ndisi, Kirk TV, hapa ndipo.
Choose life that you may love the Lord your God.
If you delight yourself in the Lord, He will make you fruitful in whatever season you are in.
Listen to His voice and hold fast to Him.
That as disciples ourselves, we're being invited to be transformed more fully every single day.
In our walk with God, let us know that we are assured victory in every battle.
For the Lord is your life.
Live a pure life. Are you living a righteous life before the Lord? It is possible. people are wondering, can you do without corruption? Yes, I can stand and say it is possible to do without corruption.
Don't miss season 2 of the evening epilogue every day at 9:30 p.m. only on Kirk TV.
The great people on earth today are the people who pray. Not those who talk about prayer or those who explain about prayer, but those who take time and pray.
God answers prayers. Why? Because He hears. His ear is not deaf, so He hears our prayers.
Men and women who go before God, we should be men and women of godly standards. Sure. So we abide.
Yeah.
So that we keep tapping from the source.
But as we pray, it is important to tell God that your will be done in this prayer that I'm praying, or about this prayer item that I'm praying about. Not as I will, yes, this is my will, but let your will be done.
In these changing times and seasons of uncertainty, whom do you look up to?
God keeps His part. Calm rain, calm sunshine. God is still committed.
From one generation to another, and it's not like shifting shadows that He will change. But
join Reverend Elizabeth Kimani and Henry Kyra every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. live on Kirk TV for Call Unto Me.
2021, He's still the same God and He has not changed.
Good journalism is bold, in-depth, unique, captivates, reflects, and impacts. To quench your thirst for exceptional stories that are about you, from you, and for you, Kirk TV presents itself as the hub of feature stories. Ranging from health and environment,
either there is extreme drought or extreme floods, and these will affect people.
Religion and politics.
And the man looked at the boy, looked at the mother, and told the boy, going forward, don't wet the bed again.
There come a time when the nation is more important than an individual.
Education and socio-economic issues.
Nasaidika kwa sababu nikishona moja mbili nauza, napata kitu ya kulisha watoto.
I have met with other tribes which I have never met before.
To other stories that touch on your day-to-day life.
Ja ndio iko mingi zaidi. Tafadhali mnasaidia maji ya nyazi.
Tingatinga amekanyanga kila kitu.
Hatujawahi kuona mabadiliko yote kuhusiana na serikali ya kujengea sisi.
Kwanza kitu naweza omba tu nishikiliwe tu pande ya masomo tu ya watoto.
Kirk TV, the hub of feature stories.
So catch Fit to Live every Monday through Friday at 6:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Together, let's have fun, get fit, and stay healthy. My name is Aida Munzati. I'll be your host for this show. Remember, your health always matters.
Are you looking to grow your business? Kirk TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@kirktv.org or call 011 00 90647.
Wakenya ni wapenda kazi na kila siku wapo mbioni kuchapa kazi. Kipindi cha Kazi na Mali ni rafiki, swahiba na kipenzi cha wachapakazi wote. Si jua kali tu. Kilimo shambani.
Kusema kweli nguruwe ni wazuri.
Madini ya protein kwa huyu snail iko juu sana.
Biashara sokoni. Wajasiriamali wa aina zote, sanaa, wasanii. Guess what? It is business. Tunatembea nawe kila hatua ya uvumbuzi na ubunifu wako ili kujikimu na kukimu uchumi wa taifa. Kazi na Mali, sisi ndisi, Kirk TV, hapa ndipo.
Choose life that you may love the Lord your God.
If you delight yourself in the Lord, He will make you fruitful in whatever season you are in.
Listen to His voice and hold fast to Him.
That as disciples ourselves, we're being invited to be transformed more fully every single day.
In our walk with God, let us know that we are assured victory in every battle.
For the Lord is your life.
Live a pure life. Are you living a righteous life before the Lord? It is possible. People are wondering, can you do without corruption? Yes, I can stand and say it is possible to do without corruption.
Don't miss season 2 of the evening epilogue every day at 9:30 p.m. only on Kirk TV.
The great people on earth today are the people who pray. Not those who talk about prayer or those who explain about prayer, but those who take time and pray.
God answers prayers. Why? Because He hears. His ear is not deaf, so He hears our prayers.
Men and women who go before God, we should be men and women of godly standards. Sure. So we abide.
Yeah.
So that we keep tapping from the source.
But as we pray, it is important to tell God that your will be done in this prayer that I'm praying, or about this prayer item that I'm praying about. Not as I will, yes, this is my will, but let your will be done.
In these changing times and seasons of uncertainty, whom do you look up to?
God keeps His part. Calm rain, calm sunshine. God is still committed.
From one generation to another, and it's not like shifting shadows that He will change, but
join Reverend Elizabeth Kimani and Henry Kyra every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. live on Kirk TV for Call Unto Me.
2021, He's still the same God and He has not changed.
All right, welcome back, and thank you so much for keeping it right here, Kirk Mid Morning, with me, Faith Kaulu. Today, we are talking about the state of teachers and education as well, ahead of World Teachers Day tomorrow. And with me in studio this morning is Guilford Kidula, as well as Olive Thuku. Thank you so much for being here. They're both teachers and leaders from Teach for Kenya. They'll be telling us more of what they do in a few. But before that, how are you this morning?
We are doing fine. I'm doing fine, maybe Olive.
Also doing well. Thank you so much.
All right, karibuni. Now, we're saying that you're teacher leaders from Teach for Kenya. Tell us more of what you do. Where do you teach? For how long has it been? Yes, we'll start with you, Guilford.
Oh, thank you. So my name is Guilford, and I'm from Teach for Kenya. I'm a fellow teacher leader, and basically maybe to explain more about Teach for Kenya. Teach for Kenya is a transformational leadership which recruit university graduates and they place them in up-based school in most needy societies, where we try to improve education equality in those institutions. So basically we are teaching them about numeracy and literacy, and even working even with the communities around to make sure that we're also trying to solve some of the challenges that the communities are facing.
Right.
Because education is just one thing, but there are a lot of issues in the communities that we also try to solve in the communities.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Olive?
So I'm also a teacher leader based in Mukuru, Kwaruben, in Nairobi. And as he said, Teach for Kenya is a non-profit organization that aims at bridging the gap of educational inequality within our learners, especially those who come from low-cost households or underprivileged communities. So it aims at achieving the SDG 4, which is quality education, and ensuring a provision of qualified and trained teachers. So when it gets university graduates, we also go through training where we are multi-sectoral. We are not limited to just being teachers. For example, I didn't pursue education, but I went through training, and I also pursued a postgraduate diploma in education, where I was able to get equipped with pedagogical skills
We'll get to that.
Yeah, to be able to teach my class and to also meet the needs of my learners. So basically that's simply all it about the fellowship program. As you said, it's not limited to the class. You also go out to the community and you have to make an impact to that community.
Wow.
Yes.
All right, so what did you study in campus?
I studied environmental studies, planning and management. Yes.
How about you, Guilford?
I studied community resource management, community development option.
All right, and how did you end up becoming teachers?
Maybe on my side, when I finished university graduate, and I went and looked for internship. I was a social worker in a charitable children institution, but then when the corona pandemic hit, and you're not supposed to work with kids at that time, so we were laid off as interns. And so while I was at home, I saw this opportunity from Teach for Kenya. They were looking for university graduates. So I applied, and we were trained through this. There is a summer institute, there's a training professional program by the Teach for Kenya. So we were trained how to become teachers. And we also, just like Oliver said, we also pursued a postgraduate diploma in education from Mount Kenya University, where we were able to also to be equipped with the knowledge about being teachers, educators, and even change agents in the community.
Sure. So for how long have you been teaching?
It's been almost 2 years. Yeah.
All right, great. Olive, how did you end up becoming a teacher?
Well, I'd say my journey is quite long because before I joined campus, I found myself in a class. I was given an opportunity to be in a class. And then later on, after I completed, I went to a part-time internship with an organization called Little Einsteins East Africa. So there you work as an edutainer. You teach and you make education fun. But that was for the rich, let me call it the rich families. And then, so later on, I made an application with Teach for Kenya, and they saw it fit to give me this opportunity to serve as a teacher. And so I have grown and I have loved what I'm doing. You know, seeing that child change every day is such a fulfilling thing to do. So yeah, I've been teaching for those, so I can say close to 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
How has the experience been for you?
Experience has been a mixture of emotions, I can say, because there are low moments and there are high moments. The low moments is when you have a learner come to your class and probably they are they're time takers, and probably the previous class they were in, somebody didn't pay attention to understand where where they could not fit in, or where they did not get what the teacher was teaching. And so this challenge continues. For example, in literacy, let me just expound a bit.
Sure.
In literacy, if a child does not understand the alphabet at a tender age, it affects their reading ability when they go to the upper classes. So if somebody was not keen enough and they ignored that, that child was not able to get the concept back then, it makes sure that that child does not have literacy. They're not able to read. And so for me, that is a very low moment, because I feel so bad when a learner comes to my class and probably the slightest of things was not paid attention to ensure that this child goes to the next class having achieved it. But the high moments is when you go to class and you have these new concepts that they didn't know at all, and they get it and they're able to implement it. That is always my high moment, because it's a very fulfilling thing for me. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned that you began with teaching for can I say well-off people, and now you're teaching in the informal settlements. How has the transition been? Any challenges? How has it been for you?
Okay, for me the transition has been a little bit tough, because in my previous internship facilities, there are a lot of facilities. They are facilitated. There's technology, because right now we're talking about technology.
Right.
They have all these facilities, but when I come to the low cost areas, there are lack of facilities. There's a shortage of resources. Even a teacher is a resource, and there's a shortage of resource. I can attest to that there's a shortage of teaching resources. So for me, it was a little bit tough, especially adapting to that, because I have to change my methodologies. I have to come down to the learners' levels so that they can get me. It's interesting, when we went in our first term, you go to class and you're speaking English, and the children are just looking at you because they can't get it. So you have to start changing, to Kiswahili, so that they're able to get the concept. So for me, it was a little bit tough, but we are leaders. So you have to be resilient, and your adaptability skills have to be high. So we were able to adapt, come to their level, and then cope.
All right. Guilford, you've told us you've taught for about 2 years. How's the experience been for you?
I want to say first, teaching is passion, and there's nothing that you can really achieve in this world without passion. And so, just as Oliver said, that as a teacher, you have to put on different hats at different times. Sometimes you are a teacher, sometimes you are a mentor, and sometimes you're also a parent to these children, because you are teaching in low-income communities. And sometimes a child comes to school, probably they have not taken breakfast, and so you are going into that class basically to teach mathematics. And so you have to really understand that you have to meet the basic needs of these kids first, before you really impart the knowledge that you are coming to teach. So I will say that I've seen transformation of these learners. I came to these schools when the old nature of the teacher was that the teacher was supposed to be caning these students now and then. So we are trying to change that narrative that as a teacher is supposed to be the friend to these learners, and also bring that that learning should be learner-centered, in that as a teacher, you are just facilitating the class, but the learners understand, they have the information. So you are helping them to be creative thinkers and to even think critically and give you the answers to some of the things you are trying to teach them. And so I've seen transformation of these learners, and basically I want to say that on numeracy most. I love to teach maths most. So I've seen learners understanding maths, and I would want to say that, for example, the class that I'm teaching, it's the best in the whole school. And so this is one of the fulfilling experience that I always remember, that at one point I was able to touch a learner's life.
Wow, I like how you speak passionately about it. Let's talk about World Teachers Day tomorrow. You all have your own experiences as a teacher. Of course, I believe you have grown in that. Looking at how you as well speak very passionately of what you do, I think I like that. So what would you say about World Teachers Day tomorrow as a teacher yourself? Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Also, my thoughts on that is, you see, teachers are very important part of the society because they are imparting knowledge to learners, beginning from pre-unit even up to university. So teachers are not supposed to be underestimated, and I feel like there's supposed to be a lot of teacher training. There's supposed to be, as a government, we're supposed to invest on teachers to make sure that the teachers are motivated to do this work. Because when the teachers are motivated, even learners will get the best from the teachers. So even as you celebrate World Teachers Day, I want to say that teachers are very important agents of the society, because through teachers we get lawyers and even any other profession that comes from different in this world.
Yeah.
So teachers should be celebrated, and they should be supported with whatever it takes to make sure that they're able to deliver the best in the class. And just like I've said first, that when teachers are motivated, they will be able to transfer that motivation to learners, and learners will get the best.
Right.
But when teachers are demotivated, even the class will be boring. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Olive?
I'm aware that the theme of the World Teachers Day is that transformation in education begins with the teacher.
Indeed.
So one of the major stakeholders of transformation or a shift in a generation is a teacher. So for me, I feel that we can continue to motivate our teachers, as Guilford has said, and also enhance their capacity. Let them not be limited to classrooms. Let there be expansion of, because for example, I can look at primary school teachers or ECD teachers. They are always enclosed to their small children. Yet there are more skills that they can be equipped with to ensure that they are able to enlarge their scopes of education delivery. So I'd say that as we celebrate World Teachers Day, let a teacher not just be looked at as just anyone in the society, because they are holding the future generations, they are imparting them. I know you're also there because a teacher did something to you.
True.
So we should also consider and appreciate what our teachers do. It's really not easy, but at the end of the day, we always have a product that you can say, I am this because my teacher did this and this. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's indeed true, because all of us go through a teacher.
Sure.
And you look at most people, depending on who their best teacher is, then that's where that's the career path they choose. So if you're good at languages, if you like the teacher, you end up being something that needs you to be good at languages, meaning indeed they're very key agents of change, of transformation. But let's talk about the CBC system. I think nowadays when I meet any teacher, my first question is, what do you think about the CBC system? Because I'd like to hear from them. We have so many opinions from parents. There are those who are complaining about it, very harsh comments, especially on social media when you look at that. But there are those who support it and they like it. So I'd like to ask you as teachers, what do you think of the CBC? We'll start with you, Olive.
CBC is a very good curriculum in comparison to the 844. Because it is guided by the achievement of competencies. When it ensures that a learner has a competency they are good in. It ensures that values are imparted in a learner. Because every competency is linked to a value and an emerging issue. So that also ensures that our learners are well informed about what is happening around them. For example, this year, grade 3 had a project on patriotism, and they were emphasizing on the fact that you should have national unity. So these children are aware there are elections, and so it's their responsibility, because responsibility is a value, to ensure that there is patriotism, peace and unity in our country. So I feel that CBC is a good curriculum, because the child is all-rounded. They are not limited to academia, unlike 844, where if you didn't get maths, there's no hope for you. If you didn't get this, So for now, we're even looking at talent. We're even looking at abilities outside classroom. Because, for example, the arts have been ignored in our country, yet arts are a very great source of income. Right now, when we look at the arts, they are coming up. We want to have a future for these arts. We don't only want to have white collar jobs.
Yes.
We don't only want to have businesses running. We also want to have arts. We also want to have, you know, creativity, to enhance creativity among our learners. I think the main challenge is coming in because in the 844 system, our parents were used to the moment I just pay your fees.
That's it.
That's it. I'm done. But now this one wants a parent to also have a touch in their children's academic journey. I know of parents who didn't even know what their children scored, you know, when they were in high school, and the only focus was KCSE or KCPE, and that was it. But now you have to know what your child is good at so that you can also nurture it from home as it's also being nurtured from school. Another aspect of 844 is that, as I said, emerging issues. Right now, IT, computers is an emerging issue, and it's incorporated in the competencies because it's called digital literacy. Right now, if you give a child a smartphone, they'll discover things you yourself won't even discover.
Right.
So for me, CBC is a great curriculum, and I was comparing it to another curriculum called PACE. PACE curriculum is a curriculum where children do things according to their own pace.
Okay.
So you have maths, addition, you do it at your own pace. And when I look at CBC, it's almost one and the same thing, because once a child is able to add, for example, once they're able to add 1-digit numbers, you're sure they're going to be able to do 2-digit numbers. Yeah, so for me, I am a strong advocate for CBC, although I feel in the different settings that we can, the socio-economic, social backgrounds. For example, the low, underprivileged communities and backgrounds are a little bit disadvantaged by this curriculum, and it needs to be reviewed because so many practicals are required, you know, so many things have to be done physically, and these parents have limited resources. So I think that needs to be reviewed so that we can have equity and equality in the delivery of this curriculum.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's hear from you, Gilford. Are you of the same idea?
Yes, I want to agree with Olive's sentiments. CBC first is a good curriculum, unlike the 844, and basically because it promotes holistic development of all children, and that's why it says that the key inquiry question when you are teaching is that by the end of the lesson, every learner, so it promotes inclusivity, that every learner should know one thing or the other that you have taught in the in the class. And secondly, CBC promotes the learners who can thrive in arts, the learners who can thrive for example, in numeracy, the learners who can thrive in literacy, and these learners should be all incorporated together, because at the end of the day, they will pursue different passions and disciplines in their life. So I want to say the challenge that is coming from is that the government should create a policy whereby learning resources are distributed equally. Even because teaching in low-income schools, and the reason why parents complain is because if parents cannot afford to provide a basic meal to these learners, and they are told basically to buy some of the learning resources, so it becomes very expensive for them. So the government should come up with a way, with a policy to make sure that learning resources are distributed equally to these schools, and not just learning resources, but even digital resources. Because, for example, when I'm teaching science and technology, it comes in a point in time that you're supposed to teach Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, and there's only one desktop in that computer in that school. So it becomes harder for you to realize, to teach effective of that kind of a topic. So what I would say that if the government really come up with clear structures and clear ways of implementing CBC, in 5 years it will be a good system that will be accepted. And something else, change is very difficult. People will not accept change easily. So as a country and as people, we just need to embrace change, and the government should support CBC to totality.
All right, I think you've put it very well. Let's take a very short break. When we come back, we'll look at what you raised. There's an issue raised about, the different economic, can I say, capabilities where of course there have been concerns raised of those who are coming from underprivileged background, where they're not able to receive the same quality education as others, and we'll touch on that. Will tell us what experiences you've come across in a few. But we're taking a very short break. Keep it right here, Kirk Mid-Morning. In case of any question or comments, do interact with us on our socials. That is Kirk TV Kenya. See you in a few.
We welcome your feedback on our programming. For questions or comments, kindly get in touch with us via email info@kirktv.org, SMS 0111 220044, or call us on 0794 588 054.
Not a mistake. Welcome to Kirk Watoto. We're very glad to have you. In this show, we have 4 segments.
I always get excited for this particular moment when we raise generation for Christ.
You know that Jesus loves you so much, and he has given you talents.
The aim of this program is to make sure that it nurtures your talent.
By then kuwa na baraka si pesa mingi, ni kuwa na Yesu ndani ya moyo wako na kujipenda na kujua ya kwamba you are not a mistake.
Wow! Let's do this.
Let all the children come to me, brought in the name.
Uwe rafiki wa karibu na uwe partner. Ukisema ya kwamba utakuwa ukiwapatia 100 shillings, hata hiyo ni kubwa sana kwao. Ukisema ni 200, ukisema ni 1000, ukisema utaweza 5000, ni wewe tu utaamua. Lakini ikiwa consistent, tuseme ya kwamba ni mwezi, nikisema ya kwamba nitakuwa nikiwapatia mwezi kiasi hiki, ni kuendelea tu na kuwapatia na kuwashikilia. Kushikilia hiyo ni kama tunaenda mission. Sisi tunaenda mission.
To partner with us, send your financial support to pay bill number 4019613, account partner. Pay bill number 4019613, account partner.
Wakenya ni wapenda kazi na kila siku wapo mbioni kuchapa kazi. Kipindi cha Kazi na Mali ni rafiki, swahiba na kipenzi cha wachapakazi wote. Si jua kali tu. Kilimo shambani.
Kusema kweli, nguruwe ni wazuri.
Madini ya protein kwa huyu snail iko juu sana.
Biashara sokoni. Wajasiriamali wa aina zote, sanaa, wasanii. Guess what? It is business. Tunatembea nawe kila hatua ya uvumbuzi na ubunifu wako ili kujikimu na kukimu uchumi wa taifa. Kazi na Mali, sisi ndisi, Kirk TV, hapa ndipo.
All right, welcome back, and thank you so much for keeping it Kirk Mid-Morning. With me is Guilford Kidula and Olive Thuku, who are teacher leaders teacher leaders from Teach for Kenya, and we are just talking about the education system as well as the welfare of teachers in our country. And we were talking about CBC just before the break, and want to talk about how is it an all-inclusive curriculum? Yeah, when we look at children from underprivileged families or informal settlements, you've mentioned that there's a lot of practical courses or classwork with CBC. So then, are they able to get the same quality of education as children who are from a well-to-do background? Let's talk about that, because that's one of the major concerns that have been brought up by parents. I don't know who'd like to go first in talking about that. Early.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say that the curriculum design that was designed by KICD has ensured that it has covered all learners. But the activities are the ones which separate the learners. For example, I'll give you an example of that project that we had this year on patriotism. We were expected to have hats. We were expected to have hats. And these hats, you're supposed to improvise material from your own environment. So we understand the environments where you can get manillas easily. There are those who can't buy manillas, so you have to use cartons. There are those who can't use cartons. We had to improvise based on our environments. So I'd say that the curriculum designs have ensured that any teacher, the moment you get that syllabus, the curriculum design, the moment you get it, you're able to, as a teacher, you're able to know how you're going to deliver this to your learners. It has also encouraged cultural diversity. For example, those at home at the rural areas, they're able to learn how to read using their local languages. There are storybooks, there's reading material for them. So it is it considers all our environments. So for me, I'd say that the curriculum design is bringing equality, but now the delivery is where the difference is coming in. Yeah.
All right, thank you for putting it very well. But of course, we'd like to hear your voice on the same issue as well. Yeah.
So I would say that it's true indeed. CBC is trying to bring that inclusivity in classrooms, whereby you find that, for example, when you are teaching, I'll give lovely examples. For example, when I'm teaching science and technology in class, and it comes to a point so that learners in groups to discuss. So we find that learners are able to share in groups and even present their findings in class. So that promotes participation and even inclusivity. And what brings, let me say, what brings inequality is on the settings of the schools. And we have said basically, as we are working in most needy communities and low-income schools. So these schools really don't have adequate resources when it comes to learning resources and digital literacy. And so also it requires now as a teacher to improvise. You can also engage learners to improvise some of the learning resources so that at least you make sure that you're able to achieve the objectives of the lesson. And that's why I began by saying that the government should come up with the way to make sure that every learner, because even our goal, our vision as Teach for Kenya is that one day every learner will have an access to quality education. And quality education is only possible when the teachers are empowered, when there is sufficient learning resources, and even the learning environment is very conducive for learning. Because sometimes even the classroom sizes are very limited, and we find that it becomes hard for you as a teacher to deliver effectively. But when the government comes in and all stakeholders come in to make sure that the disadvantaged children in low-income schools, they are supported with insufficient learning resources, I believe even teachers will have an easy time to deliver effectively to learners. Yeah.
Okay. President William Ruto talked about the CBC curriculum and mentioned that, of course, he'll direct his cabinet to look at it and come up with reforms. We're still waiting to hear what are some of the suggestions they'll make. But even as you look forward to that, what are some of the suggestions that you'd put forth if you were to do some changes to the curriculum as well? What would you suggest? I
want to say first it's a good suggestion by the president, because from getting the information of what the parents have been saying, because parents are also stakeholders in the education system in Kenya, And so for them wanting to review the curriculum, and even for me, for the 2 years I've been teaching CBC, I want to say, even as they consider the reviews, is that they need to, as a government, they need to make sure that resources, things like books, and because CBC also incorporates digital technology, and that's as Olive said, that digital learning is now becoming an emerging issue. These schools in low-income schools doesn't have adequate digital literacy, and so it becomes harder for the teacher, maybe for example, to go to the YouTube. So they don't have bundles, they don't have maybe smartphones. So they should come up with a policy to make sure that resources are distributed equally to all these institutions, to make sure that now what parents, it's good parents are involved, but parents should not be over involved in in also the learning, so in the learning of their children.
Yeah.
But it's good parents are involved, and what I'll just say, what I've said before, is that learning resources should be distributed equally to these institutions, and teachers should be also empowered, because sometimes teachers also complain they were not given adequate training to implement CBC. And also I just heard that parents also complained that they were not involved in the task force plan. So I think they're supposed to consider that parents should be involved in the task force, because they're still important in in the implementation of the CBC.
All right.
Sure.
Thank you. Olive.
One of the reforms I'd really suggest is also on training. For example, right now we are expecting next year to have a transition from grade 6 to grade 7 in high schools. So a lot of training needs to be done, because those subjects will differ. For example, what we were used to, chemistry, biology, physics, is now an integrated science.
Yeah.
And so teachers really need to be trained on how they're going to handle these learners, because a lot of emphasis has been put on early childhood education, but little training has been being done to those ones who are transitioning. So a lot of training, as Guilford says, needs to be done. Also on the reforms is also, I think parental involvement is a big challenge. You know, you have to provide this every now and then. So I think they also need to review, as I said earlier, let them review on these activities, let them review on the things that a child can go out and do for themselves, instead of having to involve their parents so much. And also informing the parents, you know, the curriculum has not provided an avenue where parents can be informed on, this is what we will be doing in this class, you know, this is what we expect of you, and at least parents are able to err and say, this is what we can do, and this is what we can do, because they have a lot of work on their hands. They're raising children, you know, they need to work, and yet they're being expected to actively participate in the academic journeys. So I feel that parents airing their views, as he said, because they're stakeholders, let their views be heard, let them, and also school leaders or directors also need to tone down and listen to the parents' expectations. Yeah, so that's simply it for me, and to also ensure that the learners' voices are also heard.
Right.
You know, like, what does a learner feel about something? What do they feel about, you know, learning a specific concept? Let them also be involved in these discussions. Also, let their views be major points of reference as they are also reforming the education sector.
All right.
Yeah.
I want us now to talk about the Nuru Empowerment Project and the Mentorship Care Network that you all have been undertaking. We'll start with you, Olive. Tell us about the Nuru Empowerment Project, what it's all about.
Okay, so Nuru Empowerment Project is a project that seeks to address gender inequalities. It's also a sustainable development goal. So initially, its purpose was mainly based on the girls. But when I looked at my team, there were men, and so the boy child was represented. So there was no need of secluding them. So its main aim was to ensure, because our main target is adolescents, these learners who are approaching their adolescence, and you know, that is a slum setting, there are drugs, there's, you know, sex education, there's gender-based violence, so many issues that are affecting these learners, because now they get to understand their community. So the project was is aimed at empowering these learners to ensure that they can cope with these challenges and also pursue education, because along the line there are very many dropout rates, there are very many negative attitudes towards school, there are very many stereotypes out there that are showing them education is not important for you, because you can go out there, you can collect waste, for example, they do collect like plastics, go sell, and life moves on. But this person needs to have an education, because education will transform them. It will change their way of doing things. It will change their attitude towards life. So this project is aimed at transforming the learners at an adolescent stage. So we were covering topics like adolescence and education. Like, it's normal for you to be an adolescent. It's normal for you to have these changes that you're experiencing. So it shouldn't draw you back from coming to school. It shouldn't draw you back from the others because you feel you have a change, you know. So that is one of the topics we are handling. We're also handling menstrual hygiene. As we know, sanitation is also access to sanitation, especially for young girls, is quite a challenge. And so showing them the importance of menstrual hygiene and showing them that it is normal to have that in your life. It is normal to experience menstruation, but how do you go about it? Because sometimes they have parents who really don't have time to show them these things. So we bridge that gap by being the ones who will come and empower them, show them how to go about it, show them how to respond towards it, and also pursue education at the same time. The other topic we're handling is on climate education and action. As we know right now that climate change is a big emerging issue. And so in our setting, a lot of waste is being generated, and how we dispose that waste culminates to the climate. So teaching them on how to segregate waste, you know, how to dispose waste, how to respond to the environment, you know, littering, because that's a major challenge around the environment. So that is also another topic. Self-esteem and self-awareness. That is also a major topic that we are also handling, because, you know, sometimes probably someone went home and something happened and they're not able to come out and share with a safe space, because, you know, you have to be a safe space for them to come and tell you, you're not home, this and this is going on, and so I don't know what to do, I don't know, you know. So that self-esteem and self-awareness is also another thing that we are really steering on to ensure that these children are able to acquire education and at the same time cope up with the environment and what it has. Yeah, so that's simply it. We are able to do it in 2 schools. In my school, St. Teresa Academy, and in AEF Primary School, that is in Mukuru kwa Ruben, and we're able to touch 150 learners. Yeah, so it's been a great project. It was in partnership with Leap Africa, and we were aiming at the International Youth Day of Service. And so we partnered with them. We had volunteers who came, and the children saw beyond what they're used to. They saw beyond the environments they're used to, and they have, actually there's a change in their attitudes, because we meet every Friday to discuss these issues, and you know, to them, they know education is important. And that makes me happy, because they have taken that to the bank, and that encourages me, because I know anytime they're doing whatever they're doing, they know that education is important for them. So mainly my aim was at changing the negative attitude towards school and reducing the dropout rates that we experience, especially from the adolescents, because the small children are faithful. They will come to school.
All right.
Thank you.
For putting it very well and elaborate. Guilford, tell us about the Mentorship Care Network.
So Mentorship Care Network is a project that I run in Mukuru at a Kids Care Education Center, and basically it was founded on the belief that academic education alone is not enough to make sure that children are able to thrive even in life after school. And I realized that I really need to come up with a way to make sure that I'm able to provide out of classroom life skills to these learners, to make sure that even when they go out, they're able to thrive. And I'm able to provide life skills like emotional education. You see you might be good in academics, but when you don't know how to deal with your emotions, then you can even not able to interact well with other people in the society. I'm also talking with issues to do with the leadership. I'm talking with how to deal with the peer pressure and teenage years. I've realized that yes, CBC is more of an emphasis on academics. Sometimes we find that because of the last year and this year, because of the corona pandemic, we found that a lot of time there was little time for learners to go and do maybe extracurricular activities. So academics was being given a lot of emphasis, and so far that these learners miss out on provision of other life skills which are important for them to thrive in their life. So it's just an out of classroom life skills that is geared forward to make sure that these learners, even when they go out of school, they're able to thrive, they're able to interact, they're able to understand and to deal with the teenage years very well. Because sometimes learners, when they reach teenage years, sometimes they're able to start to experience this of the changes, physical changes and even emotional changes, and they need someone to be there with them. I'm here because I had a mentor who mentored me. And so I believe that if these learners, starting from primary years, if they are mentored, then they will excel in academics and even excel holistically in their life. So Mentorship Care Network is that, and we're also partnering with other organizations like Peace First. It's an international organization to make sure that we want to come up with a digital way of mentoring these learners using the projectors to make sure that they're able to see the reality. And yeah, we hope that it's been impactful. Learners have been sharing that they're really gaining a lot from the project. And as we scale forward to other schools, we hope it also be impactful.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what changes have you seen since you started this project?
First, confidence in learners. I've seen learners confident because it's learner-centered. Learners are supposed to discuss in groups and come up and present, for example, an item, share a story, and so it builds confidence in learners. Another thing is how to deal with the emotions. Anna came when I was in school. Anna came and tell me, for example, they are going through this at home. You see, they were not able to tell me. But when I taught them that emotions are normal, and sometimes when you are dealing this, you have to have someone to share with. So they come to me, I believe, because they believe I'm not just a teacher, but I'm their friend and I'm their mentor. So they're able to share. So that is very good from them. Leadership is also good. We find that when you're able to train them, we find that they're able to even to take up leadership roles in class and even in group activities, and that just help them to be good leaders even in future. And that basically it's a plus.
Yeah. All right. As we talk about teachers and World Teachers Day, share with us what has been the most challenging experience or most challenging day or most challenging thing that you as a teacher ever encountered, Guilford.
Oh, so the most challenging experience, I won't say not really challenging, but I would say that sometimes you prepare as a teacher. For example, you've prepared a math lesson and you go to the class with the aim that at the end of the lesson, every learner should have really gotten what you want really to put forward. And then when you are finished teaching, you realize that you have to redo again because some learners miss out. You sometimes have gone way upward to make sure that those learners we are calling them time takers, you bring them and you again to repeat the concept again. You repeat the concept again until at least they're able to do what other learners who in the class were able to do. So it's as I've said, life as a teacher sometimes it's not really a straight pathway. It's not really, you can say that because it's the learners who will really tell you if they have understood. If you can really say that you are a good teacher, but the learners sometimes will not really get. Sometimes you will use some of the methodologies the learners will not understand. So it takes you as a teacher to go back to the drawing board and find out. And that's why it's called a reflection. At the end of the lesson, you have to do a reflection. Did really the learners understand? And this after umewapatia, you've given them work to do. So you have to find out, did they really understood what you taught them? If they didn't, then you have to again to redo. And so sometimes you find that it's work as a teacher,
Okay. I think you're being honest with us here. Okay, and thank you for that. Olive, on your end.
I think my greatest challenge was I was dealing with adolescents in my previous task, and this time round I have to deal with small children. So my biggest task was containing them. You know, they are hyperactive, and you want to make sure they learn. You have to make sure you're still their friend. You have to be, you really don't have to be that firm, authoritative teacher, but you're also giving them room for them to also express themselves. So for me, it was a little bit tough to come down to their level, as I had put it earlier, and ensure that there is learning. That was my greatest challenge, but I was able to overcome it, because at the end of the day I had to come down to their level. I had to understand the best methodologies to use. Another challenge that I also encountered was I'm really passionate about digital literacy, and so there are some aspects that you really need to show your learners. They need to see something digital for them to understand. So to overcome that, I used my phone. I just sacrificed my data allowances and just used my phone to ensure that it's a tool for my teaching, it's a tool for my pedagogy, and it has worked, because you know, anytime I'm teaching and I'm like, we're going to watch a video, you know, everyone is you know, they're attentive. And so for me, those are some of the challenges that I went through, and also adapting to the language and the way to deliver my content, because as I told you earlier, I used to speak English, and you know, they wouldn't understand until I had to learn how to mix along the way, because at the same time they need to get it in English so that they're able to express themselves. So I learned how to, you know, juggle between the two languages, so that there's no language barrier as I'm teaching.
Here's a question. For teachers, how are you able to balance between, you know, your emotions, what you're going through, and then appearing with a smiling face in front of your students, and you know, being their friend, as you've mentioned, interact with them, teach them, then when you walk out of the class, you now deal with what life has thrown at you at the moment. How are you able to, can I say, control that or juggle between those two worlds?
So I'll say it takes planning, and basically I've said that teaching is passion. When you are it's normal. Sometimes you will have challenges within, but those challenges will not really obstruct you from delivering your key activities in the class. Once you are motivated to go to that class, and I'll give a live example. To me, it's because of my learners. Like I've seen these learners growing from grade 3 up to grade 5, and I've seen them improving. So the idea that that class is going to be lively, and you see sometimes my class is very lively, so they give me the energy to go into that class. Yes, when I'm in that class, I forget, like, I have life challenges, because it's so lively. They are my friends, I'm their friend, we're able to interact. It's not just teaching. Teaching should not be so serious. It's supposed to be very fun. So the class is so fun that we found that sometimes we forget, when you're in the class teaching, you forget that you have other life challenges. So you are just immersed because you want to really to give your best in that class. So it's the classroom environment that you have created as a teacher that will want you again and again to go into that class. Because some of us, we find healing talking to those learners and seeing learners able to improve in their academics, able to improve in their confidence. That is just something that keeps us going even that class, that class. And also you find that sometimes even as teacher, when you are going through things, but you still have to wake up in the morning and to go into that class. Not just as a duty, you are paid, because sometimes it's the classroom environment that you have created in that class and with the learners. How will they, because if you go to that class when you are moody, then you will not really deliver the best to the learners. So you have sometimes to wake up and go to that class and show the learners that it is another day to do our best. And it's healing.
It's healing. Wow. Olive?
For me, I approach it in this way. When I look at the teachers I used to have, sometimes they projected some of these feelings and challenges to others without their knowledge. So I wouldn't want to repeat the same to my learners. Secondly, there is emotional intelligence. You know, when you're emotionally intelligent, you know how to respond to specific situations and specific environments. For example, there's an environment that will demand you to sit down and break down. There's an environment that will demand you to stand firm and, you know, respond. There's an environment that will demand that you just take a break and think. So for me, emotional intelligence, at the same time, a teacher is not a rigid person. A teacher is a flexible person. So when an environment calls for you to make sure that you're friendly, you're able to do it. You're not pretending, but it's simply, as I'd mentioned earlier, emotional intelligence, and at the same time, you're flexible, like you're not limited to the things that you're going through, because if you display the same, your learners take the same to their lives, and we're trying to create an open minded learner. So for me, those are the main things I'd say. So the past experience, the emotional intelligence, and the teacher flexibility.
All right.
Yeah.
We're speaking about teachers. It's all Teachers Day.
Yeah.
You have been teachers, you've interacted with other teachers as well. If you were to advise fellow teachers, what would you tell them across the country and the world maybe? Yeah, because the teacher is a teacher still. They handle so many lives. They shape the future of so many children. What would be your advice to them?
I'd say, first and foremost, I'd appreciate what they do, because what they do is a transformative act and agency of leadership. I'd continue to encourage them to keep doing their best and not to be limited by the challenges that come our way as we continue teaching these learners. My greatest advice to them is let them treat these children as their own. The same way you'd want your child to be treated in a class, treat them as your own. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Guilford.
So for me, I'll start by saying first, teaching with a passion. And so these teachers really are passionate about teaching, and also that they should really, first, preparation is very important before you go into the class. So they have to really prepare with what they're going to deliver to that class, and make sure that even those learners who are time takers, they should not just go with the first timers, the learners who are very good at academics. They should really focus on those learners who cannot even raise up their hands. So they should focus on those learners because they have something within them. They also do marvelous things in their life. So they should promote that inclusive learning in that class, and they should also make sure that they're able even to improve their skills, because teaching is emerging. There are a lot of new technologies, there are a lot of new skills. So they should make sure that they also improve their teaching pedagogies, so that at least they can become effective teachers in the classroom.
All right, we take another very short break, but do not go too far, because this conversation will continue in a few, so keep it right here. Kirk Mid Morning continues after this short break.
Are you looking to grow your business? Kirk TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@kirktv.org or call 011 00 90 647. Wakenya ni wapenda kazi na kila siku wapo mbioni kuchapa kazi. Kipindi cha Kazi na Mali ni rafiki, swahiba na kipenzi cha wachapakazi wote. Si jua kali tu. Kilimo shambani.
Kusema kweli, nguruwe ni wazuri.
Madini ya protein kwa huyu snail iko juu sana.
Biashara sokoni. Wajasiriamali wa aina zote, sanaa, wasanii. Guess what? It is business. tunatembea nawe kila hatua ya uvumbuzi na ubunifu wako ili kujikimu na kukimu uchumi wa taifa. Kazi na mali, sisi ndisi, Kirk TV, hapa ndipo.
The great people on earth today are the people who pray. Not those who talk about prayer or those who explain about prayer, but those who take time and pray.
God answers prayers. Why? Because He hears. His ear is not deaf, so He hears our prayers.
Men and women who go before God, we should be men and women of godly standard. Sure. So we abide.
Yeah.
So that we keep tapping from the source.
And as we pray, it is important to tell God that your will be done in this prayer that I'm praying, or about this prayer item that I'm praying about. Not as I will, yes, this is my will, but let your will be done.
In these changing times and seasons of uncertainty, whom do you look up to?
God keeps His part. Calm rain, calm sunshine. God is still committed.
From one generation to another, and it's not like shifting shadows that He will change. But
join Reverend Elizabeth Kimani and Henry Kyra every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. live on Kirk TV for Call Unto Me.
2021, He's still the same God and He has not changed.
Keep it Kirk now and going forward. We have a lot of family programs, and this being a Christian commercial station, we will partner with you as institutions, as individuals, so that we are able to reach out to the entire world. One person said that my parish is the entire world, and I believe that Kirk TV is going globally, and therefore bring your business. We are going to advertise it and also partner with you.
To partner with us, send your financial support to pay bill number 401-9613, account partner. Pay bill number 401-9613, account partner.
Thank you so much for keeping it right here, Kirk Mid-Morning, as we talk about matters education and teachers' welfare as well. With me is Guilford Kidula and Olive Thuku, who are here to just shed light on a few things that I feel and I know are key and important for us to talk about during our program today. So this particular moment, as we come to a conclusion of our program today, let's talk about when we started. Both of you mentioned that you teach in the informal settlement or underprivileged communities, and something that you highlighted is that there are a few resources, and these resources include even the teachers there. And for me, that came as a shock, because that's something that the government should act upon with immediate effect, I mean. So let's talk about this. Learners in underprivileged communities, what other challenges do they experience when it comes to matters education, so that the government can know this if they do not know, or we can as well put it public and call for action towards them. Yes, Guilford.
Also, yeah. It's like we have said, teacher shortage is one of the factors that is a challenge, a great challenge. And when I'm saying teacher shortage, I'm also saying that they are teachers, yes, but they're not trained. Let me say shortage of trained teachers in those institutions. So we found that these teachers are not well trained to deliver effectively to these learners, and overall this is going to impact the learners' academic achievement. And that's why most of the cases we find that there's a big difference between learners who are maybe studying in private schools or in other learning institutions which have adequate teachers, unlike those learners. The second challenge is inadequate learning resources, and this greatly impact even on teachers to effectively deliver the lessons activities. Because when learning resources, if they are there, then you see that even success of learners, because it's very hard for a teacher who is teaching literacy to, for example, say these learners they're supposed to read a story from a textbook if you only have one textbook as a teacher, and the learners don't have that. So you not really deliver the competency that was required, was envisioned when they were designing the CBC curriculum. I'll say also classroom size is a great challenge. I find that the teacher-learner ratio is also affecting maybe learning achievements in the class, because when the classroom size is so small, I find that learners are squeezed, inadequate desks. You see, this greatly will also impact on the learning achievement of these learners. And above all, I believe, because we are teaching in most needy societies, poverty is not cannot be really left out, because these learners, I feel like our government should come up with a policy to make sure that our food is provided in these institutions, because when learners really are taken care of with their basic needs, then even as we teach them as teachers, we'll feel that they're able to get the concept clearly. But when someone is hungry, you cannot teach a hungry child. You cannot teach a child who's coming from an abusive family. So there are a lot of multi-factors that the government needs to really maybe do a research in those areas and in many areas, so to make sure that when you speak about quality education, it's not just within the classroom setup, classroom size, but it involves even the community being involved and even parents being involved, and the government should look into that issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Olive?
I'd add to teacher shortages. For example, slums are densely populated, and this means the children are very many, and they only have one teacher. For example, a classroom of 60 small children with one teacher, chances are that a lot of attention is not going to be paid to each and every learner, because one, we have the limitation of time, and we have the curriculum that we need to achieve. So as a result, I'd really like the government to look into it, because with my previous experience, a classroom of 20 had 2 teachers. That tells you that a lot of attention is being given to these learners, so that we're able to acquire and achieve quality education. Probably they could look into various aspects through which they can continue having more teachers. Apart from that, as we said, we are in the slums, and there are schools called up-bed schools. So these up-bed schools, they are alternative provisions for basic education. And this way, there's also a challenge, because these teachers sometimes are not trained. And so when they start teaching, and then a better job comes up, so they leave, and this class is left without a teacher. We call it teacher turnover. So when they're left without a teacher, now there are instances where 2 classes, like this class, grade 3, grade 2, have one teacher only. How will you teach? How will you deliver? How will those learners learn? You know, sometimes you even think about it and you're like, wow, this can only be God. But if the government could sit down and look at these possibilities, you know, there are so many organizations that can have volunteers, you know, programs where government could even give the youth. For example, I remember there's this time when our president, when he was deputy president, he had this program where he could send graduates to remote areas and they would go serve either in the medical or education sector. I think that could still go on, because they're serving the community, and we are also ensuring continuity of quality education. Apart from that, emphasis on extracurriculum activities. As you've heard, CBC is an all-round curriculum. And so when we emphasize on the books and the desks and everything, let's also emphasize on facilities, you know, training, music, games, arts, so that even these children who are gifted in the arts and extracurricular activities, they are also facilitated. The other thing I'd also say is that there is a limit. As much as we could say that schools maybe have been equipped with digital literacy equipment, I also feel that more can be done. More partnerships can be made with these companies, you know, that because we have right now, I think in Kenya we have several IT companies, and you know, if partnerships could be made, you know, and training could be done even to the teachers themselves, because right now when you look at most of the teachers, I think they're around their 40s, 50s. So really, they really don't know a lot about digital literacy. But Teach for Kenya has tried to come up with a program called Profituro Training, where teachers are being trained about IT. So if the government could also adapt that, apart from just a teacher, you know, professional development program, let them also emphasize on training teachers on ICT, so that they are also able to deliver the same to the learners. Yeah, those are the recommendations I would make. Yeah.
If you were to sit at a table where they're making policy changes to the education sector now, and you know it's to take effect immediately, what's that one thing that you'd propose? Or if you're to become the president and you're to give an order in the education sector, what's that one thing that would direct?
Education should be free in all levels.
Okay.
Irrespective of private or public. The government should really take the whole system of education, because it's very important in the life of a child. So education should be free, and I think that is one policy that I'll really, if I am privileged to become the president, I'll really focus on.
All right. Wow, that's great. Olive?
Mine is a little bit unique, I'd say, but I'd really push for a decent compensation for ECD teachers, because the moment a child is taken to school, they know nothing, and these are the people who open their minds. These are the people who, you know, really, I don't know whether to say, like, they start working on the raw material, and by the time you're going to university, you're a finished product. So for me, I'd really emphasize on decent compensation for these teachers, for these ECD teachers, because they really have a lot in their hands, and to be honest, they always have results. So for me, that's really it, because those ones really work on passion, and a lot of passion.
All right. Thank you all for today.
Thank you.
I think it has been a very wholesome discussion. But we cannot finish without me asking you guys to celebrate yourselves. It's World Teachers Day tomorrow. So what do you celebrate yourself for?
I want to celebrate myself for being an effective teacher, a passionate teacher, and a teacher who wakes up every morning and is happy to be in that class, to teach maths, to teach science and technology, and to make sure that my learners are able to become, to realize their dreams and aspirations. So I celebrate myself for being a wonderful teacher, and thanks Teach for Kenya for giving me this opportunity.
Oh, I celebrate you too. And thank you for coming today. Olive?
I'd like to celebrate myself for having an impact on the life of the future generations. That the moment I shall see the direction they will take, I will pat myself on the back and say, I played my role. I also want to appreciate myself for ensuring that my learners are self-aware of who they are and what they can be, irrespective of the environments that they are in. I'd also like to appreciate my fellow teacher leaders in Teach for Kenya, those who are out there making that impact and making that change, and also all the teachers around the world and even in this nation. And please allow me to appreciate my mom, who's also a teacher in a special way. She's mentored me, and so I want to appreciate her too, and appreciate all teachers who are serving this nation.
All right. We celebrate you too.
Thank you.
And appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for coming, Guilford Kidula and Olive Thuku. We appreciate you guys, and keep doing the good job you are doing. I think the more I grew up, when I was young, the more I realized that teaching is not easy. You know, when you're young, you give your teachers nickname, you laugh at them, when they shrub and all that. But then you grow up and you realize it's not an easy task, because you are who you are because of your teachers. And so we appreciate you guys. Keep doing the good job.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all for tuning in today, Kirk Mid-Morning. We call it a show right there and we wrap it up today, but I hope you have learned a lot regarding, the CBC curriculum, of course, education matters, as well as when it comes to teachers. I hope it has been a very impactful conversation, even for you who is watching us from wherever you are. My name is Faith Kaulu, and to all teachers out there ahead of course, tomorrow, World Teachers Day, we celebrate you because you transform our society every day. We are where we are with technology, with improvements, with new medication, because of the impact you had in that one child. So we appreciate you in a very big way and keep doing the good job that you're doing. Otherwise, my name is Faith Kaulu. Till next time, keep safe and keep watching Kirk TV. Goodbye.